This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN Network. And joining me today is Michael Zara. He is the president and CEO of Drone Delivery Canada. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you: FLT on the TSX Venture and TAKOF on the OTCQX. Michael, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. So it's been about 2.5 years since our last interview. That's a lifetime. It's a lifetime at this point.
It is. Yeah.
So, that was the last time we did an interview with management from Drone Delivery. A lot's changed, but we don't have to go through each individual thing. But I thought maybe we could start off with maybe a description of some of the highlights of the last 12 months or so.
Sure. So I started with the company end of 2018. And really, my focus and the focus of the company in the last, say, 12 or 18 months has really been to commercialize the business. So we've done that in 2019. That's behind us. And it really means, hiring all the functions you need to run an operating business versus a startup business, all the processes and policies and functions in place. So that's done, as I mentioned. And then we signed an arrangement, an agreement, a 10-year agreement with Air Canada as a reseller to help us go to market. We also have the right to go to market directly. And also we started signing customers in 2019 and came into 2020 with a bit of a backlog, and we're now implementing them, and we're now fully operational, and we're now generating revenue. So quite a few things have happened in the last 12, 18 months.
Revenues, baby. We love it.
Revenue's good.
So let's take a quick step back. So for those who may have missed our interview from 2.5 years ago, I invite everybody to go and check that one out. I think it was pretty good. I have to ask, how is your company unique and different compared to some of your peers out there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound naive or arrogant when I talk about my competitors, but I would say we're way ahead of them. I've heard from other regulators in other countries and other people that we're talking to. We're probably 2 or 3 years ahead of our regulators, and there's a few differences. I would say the big difference is how we approach the technology and how we approach the market. And we're not a drone company, contrary to the name. We are a managed service logistics company. So while others focused on the drone, we focused on the system and what the customers need and what the market needs. So as a result, we've got a system that's very deep and very broad in its ability to address a variety of use cases. And also our system is airframe agnostic. So we're not tied to one drone like some of our competitors have. They've got one drone, lots of, neat YouTube videos, but it doesn't really have any breadth. It doesn't really have any runway. Our system has 3 drones in our current fleet, but also the ability to adapt and integrate other drones from other companies, or even manned fixed wing or manned rotary wing aircraft from other companies that we can integrate into our system. So very, very different approach as a managed service, and really focus on the system opposed to just one drone in a small fleet that might be short range or small payload. Very, very different.
So I want to go back a little bit to what you were saying in our first question and answer there about how you've in 2019 was kind of the year of starting to commercialize and generate revenues. What were some of the processes in place, or what were the inflection points that you were waiting for that then resulted in that? And where do you see the potential growth from there?
Sure. So we felt that the company was far enough along in terms of having the technology more than proven, very successfully, a number of successful proof of concept projects in the field. We had the regulatory certification since, I think, 2017. So we felt we were at a point where now it's time to go to market in a proper operating company way. So we have the ability to go directly to market to deal with customers directly. We also wanted to accelerate that by bringing on somebody who could act as a reseller in Canada initially, because we're Canadian based, but then also internationally. So we partnered with Air Canada. So and then started signing customers and implementing and generating revenues, I mentioned. So really the catalyst to commercialize and go operational was the fact that we had sufficiently tested technology, proof of concept, regulatory approval, et cetera. And we've been doing that over the last many years and really ready to hit the market.
So as you said, you joined the company back at the end of 2018. You were then named CEO in June 2019. What was your background prior to joining Drone Delivery?
Right. So I actually had a relationship with Drone Delivery. In my past life, I was president of Staples Business Advantage, which is the B2B side of Staples, separate from the retail side. So we had actually done a proof of concept. It was actually the first e-commerce delivery from a real customer for a real order from a real company, not just a pilot. And we did that successfully a few years ago. So I had a relationship with Drone Delivery Canada as a result. I stayed in touch. I'm an engineer, so I like the technology. I like what they were doing. And we sat down one day and they wanted to move the business forward to commercialize and operational. And they felt that they wanted to bring somebody in that had more of an operational background versus a pure startup type background, because it's a very different business running a small startup and running now a scalable, soon to be global commercial business. So there was a good fit for my background. I've got an engineering degree, MBA in international business, and a PLOG, which is logistics. So it was a good fit with my academic as well as my experience, and we ended up getting together.
Perfect. All right. And so my next question for you is where Drone Delivery is at today? Is that where you more or less envision the company to be at this point thus far, notwithstanding some of the COVID-19 setbacks, of course?
Sure. And I could talk to COVID after in a second, because it's definitely changed the industry. But I would say we are where we expected we would be. It's a highly regulated industry, just like aviation is, healthcare is, and that's normal. That's expected for the purposes of safety and these sort of things. But one thing that's very good is the fact that we have a very strong relationship and very collaborative relationship with Transport Canada, and that's a very, very important place to be where we are in that relationship. Also, it's easy for us to complain about the government all the time, but I would say that Transport Canada is very innovative, genuinely wants to move the industry forward. So we're actually quite pleased with what the industry is doing under the direction of Transport Canada and NAV Canada. So I think we're moving forward at the pace that we expected. We think we're moving forward at a reasonable pace, but still doing new things. So we probably are where we should be. And there's new things coming with BVLOS, new regulations, draft regulations that are being worked on right now. So the industry does continue to move forward in the right way, I think. If I could talk to coronavirus for a second. So obviously the pandemic is a bad thing. Of course, we wish it didn't happen, but it has certainly raised the profile of the company and the industry. Prior to the pandemic, there were really two broad use cases, and that was remote community access, whether Indigenous or not, and where time was of the essence. Time critical deliveries, whether they're healthcare or commercial, industrial, where time is money. And as a result of the pandemic, two new use cases have come to light, and that's where a community or a hospital or a medical lab or a long-term care center wants to limit person-to-person contact. So if you want to limit person-to-person contact, but you want to keep the supply chain open, drone delivery is a perfect solution for that. The second application, so the fourth use case as a result of the pandemic that's come to light, is companies examining their business continuity and their disaster recovery plans and realizing they don't have a backup to their supply chain. And they're wishing that they had looked at drone delivery in the past. And in the future, they're saying, well, maybe it's something that I have on retainer as part of my disaster recovery plan, the same way I might have a retainer relationship with a company who's got a diesel generator for backup electricity, as an example. So those two new use cases have come about as a result of the pandemic. And we've definitely had quite a lot of activity with the federal government, the provincial government, healthcare, broadly defined as hospitals and long-term care centers and testing labs, and also with First Nations communities. So it's definitely raised the profile of the company and generated a lot of activity for drone delivery.
So then from what you can tell us, what would you say are the 1 to 2 things that investors should look for from the company? I guess it's more commercialization, more JVs. What are some of those things?
Well, I think the revenue started in Q1 for us, so it's recent, and we're still growing our customer base. We're still implementing new customers that we announced, and we've got a rather robust funnel. So hopefully we'll see some new announcements of new customers coming in the next little while. But I think that was a major transition for the company, going from a startup to fully commercialized, fully operational, now generating revenue. So I would say that's number one. Number two, we're primarily focused in Canada today, and we'll see more traction and hopefully more announcements in the next little while about new projects. But we are having conversations with other companies outside of Canada who we could partner with as a licensing arrangement. So I think we'll see growth within Canada. I think you see more revenue within Canada. I think you see more diverse kinds of customers in different vertical markets in Canada. And then you'll also see some activity internationally. So we're very, very excited about what we've built. We're not just building a company, we've actually built the industry. And we're not just Canadian. We're a great Canadian success story, but we're built for global scale as well. And I think people will see that in the next little while.
And with that, Michael, where can my audience go and find more information about Drone Delivery Canada?
We're all over social media. So if you go to LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram or Facebook and you search for Drone Delivery Canada, you'll find us there. Or you can go directly to the website at dronedeliverycanada.com, and there's videos, there's press releases, there's information on the system. But yeah, social media or the website, and you can get everything.
Well, with that, Michael, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe, good luck, and I look forward to our next update.
Thanks very much for having you. Appreciate it.